In this video, we're going to talk about Inworld AI, which basically allows you to create AI characters that can communicate in natural human language. So it's kind of similar to the likes of Google Assistant, Siri, Alexa. You can basically communicate with these characters the same way as you communicate with those kind of assistants, except what makes these different is that these characters have moods and personality and backstories to them. So whether that be in games, metaverse, or as virtual avatars, anything, and they're going to be able to respond to you based on those kind of moods, and these moods of them can dynamically change based on how you interact with them. And I'm going to demonstrate to you exactly how it works in a minute. And I'm also going to talk about the pricing and the limitations of this program. That's quite important to keep in mind later on after you see the demonstration of this. Alright, so this is the workspace, and you can see over here we already have a bunch of characters and scenes. This is basically a demo that the Inworld AI have created for us that basically demonstrates the capabilities of their characters and the AI. So if I were to click on one of these characters over here, you can see we have the name, the caterpillar, and you have these descriptions and motivations over here. And again, it's not as simple as just creating a character and then moving on. You have to type exactly what these characters are doing and what their motivations are, their backstory, their identity, and various knowledges, and all of those you have to type them. And the more detail you provide them, the better they are. And again, I highly recommend you check the documentation because there are recommended ways on how you actually type them. You don't just randomly type them. Like you can see over here, the motivations, the players are written in under curly braces, and there are certain things like that that you need to keep in mind. And there is a certain format in how you actually type all of these things in over here. So again, highly recommend you check the documentation before you try this out. But again, the way all of this is set up is based on how you would actually explain an actor their particular role. So over here you have the identity, you have personality and emotions, and this is again one of the unique aspects about this particular AI. All of these are dynamic. You can use the API in which you can integrate with Unity or Unreal. Again, I will talk about the integrations in a bit. And you can basically use the API to control all of these values as you interact with them, to have more control over them. And you also have facts and knowledge, and there's things like common knowledge and personal knowledge. I recommend you to check the documentation for more information. But basically, common knowledge is basically knowledge that all the characters in the particular game knows of, or basically most of the characters that you want to have a shared knowledge about. Whereas personal knowledge is something that's unique only to that particular character, and only that character will be the only ones to know about it. Again, I recommend you check the documentation for this for better understanding. We also have the voice, and again, the voice in this particular AI is definitely could be improved, and I'm pretty sure they will improve it over time because currently there are better text-to-speech programs like Descript which have much better quality, and they most likely will be able to improve their program as well. And also, I forgot to mention this also have support for speech to text, so you can basically talk to these characters and they will respond back to you, again in natural language. And there is the dialogue style over here, and again, it's very important that you check the documentation before you kind of modify any of these, because there are a specific format that you have to follow and best practices that you have to follow for the best results. We have experimental features, but now we're going to demonstrate just how impressive this is. So I'm going to type something like,
nothing much, just enjoying the day and exploring Wonderland. It's such a fascinating place. That's too bad. Maybe you can find a job in Wonderland.
Again, it's really impressive how they're able to respond and identify exactly what I'm talking about and yet provide answers for this. Again, look, is there any NPC out there that is able to respond like this in any game? And if I were to ask something that is outside of their scope of understanding,
I don't know, but maybe you could ask the Queen of Hearts. She might be able to help you out.
And if I were to ask the same question once again,
perhaps you could try inventing something or starting a business. Who knows, you may become the next big thing in Wonderland.
See, again, it's very impressive that normally if you were to ask the same question twice, they would not respond to you properly. They would just repeat the same answer again. But look at this again. If I were to ask this again,
One can only dream, my friend. By believing in oneself and putting in the hard work, anything is possible in Wonderland.
again, it's not perfect. By now, normally a person should be getting angry from constantly asking them the same question. But again, this is much better than most of the other options right now. Coming back to the workspace, you also have the option to create your own character. I'm not going to do that because it's going to take a lot of time to create a good model, because again, this is not easy to do. It's very important to take that in mind. You have to provide a lot of information about what these characters actually do in order to get a good AI out of this. Coming over here to the pricing, it's about a fair amount, I guess. But by the pricing alone, you can kind of notice something about this that might not be applicable to a lot of games, and that is the fact that this is online only. If you want most of the dynamic responses from the AI, you do need to connect this to a cloud server, that is Inworld AI server. You do have an offline option over here, but I don't think it's going to be as good as the online variant. You're not going to have that much of a dynamic response, but again, you do have to contact them for that to work. But again, this limitation is something that's very important to keep in mind. You do have support and integration to Unreal Engine and Unity, and you also have a Node.js option over here. So you can use this for not just for games, but pretty much anything that you want. And the documentation is also well made. It's still in its early stages, but I'm very impressed, and I do hope this thing kind of develops better. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and see you later. Bye.